Part 28. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 272. Claude was going crazy. The man who killed Speaker Quint last night was sitting in his office so carelessly. Many people in the parliament saw the poisoned water. Claude was sure that this must be Rudolph's method. To deal with someone like Quint, Rudolph must of course go all out and use all means. It is impossible to be perfect. Don't worry, I have a special method. No one saw me at the scene last night, and no one saw me come in just now. Rudolph couldn't help asking, am I wanted? But I didn't see my wanted notice at the door of the police station or the door of the trial office. The wanted one is the murderer. It hasn't been officially confirmed that you are the murderer. I am trying to delay and give you a chance to escape. Claude pinched his increasingly painful head and didn't know what to say. Rudolph, I thought you were so smart and had already escaped far away. I didn't expect you to come back. What's wrong? Are you afraid that you won't be exposed quickly enough? I'm not framing you. Is it Ravno? It was Vanya who did it in the end. Is it not possible for me to frame him? It's not a question of whether it's possible or not. Claude shook his head. You don't understand how much of a sensation it would cause if a sitting speaker was killed. Ravno would definitely die, whether he planned it or not. But someone will review the real cause of Quint's death, and they won't simply believe the report submitted by the Fabreau City Council. The Fabreau City Court is not qualified, and the county court will send someone over. You might really be exposed by then. Rudolph felt a little troubled, but he didn't want to leave Fabreau City. What do you want from me? Claude knew that Rudolph must have something important to do, so he couldn't wait to come to him at this time. Where is Vanya? I want to see Vanya. Vanya has fallen to death, and he cannot die anymore. Rudolph said, if he dies, I must see his body. I cannot leave Vanya to the county court. That may expose my secret. I must take him away. Although no one knows Rudolph's starfall forbidden technique, it may be a rare forbidden technique invented by a top wizard, but there is no guarantee that nothing can be found after it is taken away by the county court. Claude knew that what Rudolph said was true. That Vanya was willing to die for Rudolph, and it was obvious that he had a special relationship with Rudolph. Moreover, the court had some ability to obtain information from corpses, and it was indeed dangerous to leave Vanya to the court. Claude had to tell Rudolph, Vanya is not in the police station, he is in the court, and should be in the forensic room. Got it? It's good that he is not in the police station. It's not easy to explain if the police station loses such important evidence. Rudolph took out his pocket watch, adjusted the chronograph hand, pressed the switch, and watched the chronograph hand slide a little bit on the dial until more than 20 seconds later, the pointer stopped. I will walk out in 22 seconds, walk out at a normal speed, and I will not meet anyone on the road. It's just a coincidence. Divination, a new ability of the 4th level word spirit, is very practical. When Rudolph stood at the door and prepared, Claude finally asked, Rudolph, have you become a 4th level wizard? Yes. Be careful, Colonel Gayton and Teacher Abel have changed their attitude towards you. They think you are too dangerous. They feel confident to control the 3rd level wizard, but the 4th level wizard is different. It may directly threaten Colonel Gayton and Teacher Abel. Got it, you should be careful too. The trial office is not far from the police station. Rudolph soon came to the vicinity of the trial office. He climbed over the empty wall and got into a remote bathroom. In a basement of the trial office, there is a door plate of the forensic room. There were 2 operating tables in the forensic room, one of which was covered with a pool of flesh that looked like a human. His eye sockets were broken and his eyeballs drooped to one side, but the turbid eyeballs suddenly moved, emitting the light of a living person again, and the scattered pupils gathered again. Soon, cracked black lines appeared on Vanya's muddy body, dividing Vanya's body into fist-sized pieces. These fist-sized pieces of flesh began to wriggle and deform, turning into bats. The forensic room, which originally held the specimens, was suddenly filled with flying bats. When the two witch examiners opened the door and prepared to perform an autopsy overnight, they saw a group of bats flying out, scaring one of the witch examiners to fall to the ground. He was not afraid of bats, but because he was afraid that something unexpected would happen to the murderer's body. A witch examiner rushed into the morgue and saw that the operating table was empty. Another witch examiner wanted to chase them, but found that the bats disappeared into the vents, the sewers, and the wash basins. The two witch examiners hurriedly reported to their superiors that the bodies had turned into bats and disappeared. In a remote bathroom in the trial office, Rudolph watched a bat fly in from the window. The bat flew to Rudolph's hand and disappeared in Rudolph's palm. Rudolph came out of the bathroom in the trial office, left here, climbed over the wall, and quickly fled the trial office. Divination is really a powerful ability, but it's a pity that it can only be used 3 times a night. When Rudolph came to the suburbs, he raised his hand again, and a bat flew out of Rudolph's palm. The bat flapped its wings and quickly split into a group of bats. These bats gathered together, kneaded into the shape of a human head, and slowly turned into Vanya's head. More bats flocked to Vanya's neck, gradually forming Vanya's entire body. The ability of the 4th level vampire, Bat Incarnation, makes the 4th level vampire no longer afraid of any physical attack. Even if the body is cut into dozens of pieces, it does not affect Vanya's body to turn into a group of bats, and then turn back to its original appearance from a group of bats. At this time, the sky was slightly white, and Rudolph hurriedly asked Larry to appear beside him. Larry saw the outside world again and found that it was almost dawn. His intuition told him that something bad would happen soon, and he looked a little depressed. Am I going to disappear? Rudolph nodded, almost, to be precise, your soul is going to disappear. Larry looked at the fish belly white in the sky, looked up at the stars in the sky that had dimmed a lot, and felt that these stars were like him, obviously still reluctant, but about to disappear, and no one could see them. Anyway, thank you, Rudolph, you helped me and Captain Wayne to avenge. Goodbye, Rudolph. Goodbye, Larry. You and Wayne are both good people. Larry stopped talking, just looked up at the starry sky. There were planets that he felt were extremely mysterious and strange. He would study the planets every night, but he could never figure out why the position of the planets could affect people's fate. The great word spirit sage Beltho said that the human body is a small universe, and the soul is the chain that connects people to the universe. Now, his chain is about to break. The feeling of waiting for death is so unbearable. Sometimes Larry will tremble uncontrollably because of fear, and sometimes he will feel as if it is nothing. The first ray of sunlight in the morning shone on Larry, and Larry's eyes gradually became dull, and finally became the same as Vanya. Rudolph sighed, stretched out his hand and pressed on Larry's shoulder, and Larry completely disappeared from this world. The disappearance of Vanya in the morgue was quickly reported to Director Arden. Arden did not even go to the morgue to take a look, but just said that he knew. In a few days, it will be the funeral of Speaker Quint, and someone will come to deal with these messes soon. 5 days later, Speaker Quint's funeral was held in the North City Cemetery. Old Thor, the real boss of the Thor Trading Company, Viscount Savoy, and all the other members of the Alchemy Council came to the North City Cemetery. If Cooper were here, he would definitely feel regretful. The North City Cemetery is full of precious corpses and bigwigs, which is much richer than his South City Cemetery. In addition to the people in Fabro City, the people from the county city of Vichy are even more eye-catching. After the county council learned that the speaker of Fabro City died at the hands of heretics, it sent out 3 more regiments, plus the original 56th Regiment, a total of 4 regiments, under the command of Colonel Gayton, vowing to clear the forces in the wilderness around Fabro City. In addition to the senior officers of the Constitutional Army, the director of the county trial office, Quinn, is also eye-catching. Another identity of Quinn is the son of Speaker Quint, the proudest son of Speaker Quint. Speaker Quint spent a lot of energy to cultivate Quinn, making Quinn the most shrewd and capable second generation in Vichy County. This father and son were once the best examples of educating children in Vichy County, and were praised by everyone. Quinn looked a bit like Speaker Quint, with the same hooked nose and deep eye sockets. There was not much sadness on his face, only coldness. Of course, the most concerned were the two people standing in the front. Abade, the deputy speaker of the county council, and Abel, the acting speaker of Fabreau City. They were a few steps away from the others, so they could speak in a low voice. Obed has beautiful blonde hair and looks like a standard gentleman. He said softly. The death of Speaker Quint is a great loss to our cause. His ability is so strong that everything in Fabreau City is developing according to his plan. There are occasional mistakes, but it does not affect the success of the overall situation. Abel, I suggest that you become the acting speaker against all odds. You can temporarily exercise the power of the speaker without going through the election of the city council. You know that if the Fabreau City Council holds an election, it may not be you or Thor who will become the speaker. Although Thor is old, he is more familiar with those businesses. Abel, do you know what to do? Abel looked serious and nodded and said, I know, I will think about the problem as the speaker of Fabreau City and work hard for the overall situation of Fabreau City. Very good, but I still need to remind you that you should not only consider Fabreau City, but also Vichy County. Developing the wilderness is the general trend, and our results are very significant. Speaker Quint having laid a good foundation, he cut the Gordian knot and came up with the most feasible plan. While other counties were still dithering and developing step by step as before, Quint was already able to send minerals to Vichy City. The idiots in other counties haven't even finished the war with the werewolves yet. By the time they can develop minerals, we have already firmly grasped the market share. With one step faster and one step faster, the future of Vichy County is bright. The wheel of history rolls forward, and the resources in the wilderness must belong to the Alchemy Council. Abel, you have to do two things next. The first thing is to cooperate with Quint to deal with the affairs of Speaker Quint after his death. Speaker Quint has worked hard and made great contributions, and he should not die so hastily. Cooperating with Quinn is also helping you. There are some noises in the city council, saying that you killed Speaker Quint. Of course, I don't believe this rumor, but some people believe it, which is very troublesome. Therefore, in this matter, you must fully support and wash away your suspicion. The second thing is to continue Speaker Quint's career and seize the market without delay. Abel, I am very optimistic that you will be able to completely control the city of Fabreau during this period. When the next election comes, all the councillors will vote for you willingly. When we meet next time, I hope you can become the real speaker, not the acting speaker. Abel let out a long breath, his eyes gradually firmed up, and he made some resolutions. Deputy Speaker Abade beside him had a considerable stake in Thor Trading Company. This time he went against all odds and prevented Thor from becoming the speaker. The first reason was that Thor was too old and did not have enough energy to manage the Ruhr mining area. The second reason was that the people behind Abel helped Abel. This was a rare opportunity for Abel. Looking at the people from the county council, Claude felt heavy pressure. He looked at Speaker Abel's back again, and what made Claude even more tormented was Speaker Abel's attitude towards Rudolph. Speaker Abel had never thought of killing Speaker Quint. This was not in the interests of the Alchemy Council, nor in the tradition of alchemists. No matter how fiercely he and Speaker Quint fought, they would only compete for the distribution of benefits, and would not use assassination as a means to resolve their differences. But Rudolph's impulse the action made everything worse. Although Rudolph did save the Dordo district again, for Speaker Abel, the situation was not easy to deal with. Teacher Abel is now only the acting speaker, partly because some people suspect that Speaker Quint's death is related to Abel. Abel has spent a lot of effort in the past few days to quell these rumors. Teacher Abel's vigilance against Rudolph in his words let Claude know that Rudolph can no longer gain the trust of acting Speaker Abel, and acting Speaker Abel also intends to make him cut off from Rudolph. But he and Rudolph are not only superiors and subordinates, but also friends. How can they cut off so easily? After the funeral, Quinn walked out with a gloomy face. Sitting on the carriage of the trial bureau, Quinn saw someone waiting for him. A young woman with a black veil sat quietly in the carriage. "Abigail, go investigate the murderer Vanya. I want to know all the details about Vanya." "Okay, Lord Quinn." Quinn was very satisfied because Abigail had put away her charm. Today was his father's funeral, and he was not in the mood. Abigail got off the carriage halfway, and there were already 4 witch hunters waiting for her at the place where she got off. Let's go meet the vampires first." In an abandoned manor on the outskirts of Fabreau, Abigail met the representatives sent by the vampires. "Miss Hera, it's nice to meet you." The one sent to negotiate with the trial office was still Hera. Hera looked at the woman in black veil in front of her and felt a little uncomfortable. The comparison and competition between the same women made Hera realize that she was not as good as the witch hunter in front of her in all aspects. Abigail slowly raised her hand, pushed up her black veil, and revealed her emerald green pupils. Then, I ask seriously, was Vanya sent by you? Hera was in a trance. She was a woman, and just for a moment, she was almost mesmerized by Hera's green eyes. Before Hera spoke, she heard the 2 vampires behind her staggering forward. The 2 vampires' faces, which should have been pale, were abnormally flushed, and they rushed to answer. "My dear goddess, Vanya has betrayed the vampires for a long time, and he is also the one we want to kill. I have absolutely no secrets from you, please believe me." 2 in 1. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 273. Hera looked grim when she saw the 2 vampires looking like they had lost their souls. It was obvious that Abigail did not believe her carefully prepared words, but believed in her own ability. Was Vanya's betrayal a play directed and performed by your vampires? Did Ravno give Vanya an order? Faced with the second question, the 2 vampire subordinates continued to speak their mind. The family and Vanya have no intersection, at least we don't know. The family just wants to kill Vanya as soon as possible, and Lord Ravno has the same attitude. Abigail put down the black veil, and the 2 vampires woke up from their dreams. They didn't know why they were standing closer to Hera. They just felt that they seemed to have fallen into a strange emotion just now, which was the emotion they had felt before they became vampires: heartbeat, definitely heartbeat, the kind of heartbeat that fell in love with the girl next door when they were teenagers. "Ms. Hera, I heard that the Ravno family has another level 3 vampire, Huntington. I need to see him." Hera sighed. In order to prove their innocence, the family had to agree to the conditions of the witch hunter in front of them. Except for Ravno, they had to satisfy whoever the witch hunter wanted to see. In the second half of the night, Huntington also came to the abandoned manor. Huntington, a level 3 vampire, was no different in front of Abigail. He was captured by Abigail in an instant and told Abigail all the secrets of the family. Huntington's eyes were blurred and his breathing was rapid. He felt like he was sitting next to his beloved girl for the first time when his love was just beginning. He was at a loss and excited. Looking at Huntington's appearance, Hera was a little embarrassed. "Ms. Abigail, we have proved that our family is not the murderer of Speaker Quint, right? My father said he wanted revenge, but he was actually acting according to Speaker Quint's arrangement. Everything that night was arranged by Speaker Quint, and I think Speaker Quint will leave evidence." "What are you talking about?" Abigail looked at the vampire in front of her with a mocking look. "Speaker Quint is a great speaker who sacrificed for the city of Fabreau. How could he have any connection with your vampires? Hera's face turned pale in an instant, even uglier than that of an ordinary vampire. Are the people on Speaker Quint's side ready to cross the river and destroy the bridge, and admit nothing? After Abigail couldn't get anything out of Huntington's mouth, she stretched out her hand. What kind of hands are these? The back of the hand is like white jade, and it seems to emit a hazy white light in the night. The 5 fingers are slender, and the nails are an attractive flesh pink color, which makes people unable to look away at a glance. It was this hand that slowly reached forward, her middle finger and index finger gently fell on Huntington's fingers, and slid gently from the base of the finger down. Huntington's throat uttered a climax-like moan. "Mr. Huntington, a gentleman like you, I wonder if you can do me a favor." Huntington straightened his back and slowly relaxed his shoulders. He smelled a hint of fragrance, which made him unable to extricate himself. "Please just give me your orders, my lady. There are a lot of vampires in the room, kill them, my gentleman." Abigail used the softest words to say the most terrifying order. Huntington didn't think there was anything wrong with this order. "As you wish, my lady." Wait, Hera just opened her mouth and saw Huntington's iron bat wings unfold instantly. For a moment, the iron bat wings in this room pierced into the flesh, and the blood-cut line pierced the heart one by one. Hera wanted to resist, but her legs softened, and she didn't know when she had been drugged. The drug made Hera's face flushed, and the cold vampire body felt the heat and thirst that it had never experienced before. Hera bit her lip to make herself more awake. She had to close her eyes and not look at the male witch hunters. Level 4 Silver Snake, so powerful. When Hera opened her eyes again, she found that only Huntington was left in the room, crawling at Abigail's feet. The dozen vampires who followed her had died in Huntington's hands. "Get up, my sir, please write down the current list of members of the Ravno family for me." "It's my honor, my lady." Huntington looked up at Abigail's smooth chin with blurred eyes. Then Huntington took the booklet handed over by the witch hunter and began to write the names of the vampires one by one. The list was not long, with only more than 30 names on it. The Ravno family, which was once famous in Fabro City, now has only 37 people left. "I won't write about the people who died in the house just now, my lady. The people on the list are all in the mines in the Ruhr mining area." After the witch hunter took the list, he put it in his arms with satisfaction. Abigail reached out and gently stroked Huntington's cheek with her fingertips, looking down at Huntington through the black veil. And a witch hunter turned behind Huntington, took out the alchemical dagger, and stabbed Huntington's back fiercely until the sharp blade of the alchemical dagger protruded from his chest. Until his death, Huntington raised his head and looked at Abigail's chin with a smile. Abigail withdrew her hand and wiped her fingertips with a handkerchief, as if her fingertips were dirty. Hera collapsed in the chair, shaking her head and crying softly, "No. No. Ms. Hera, do you have anything else to add about the vampire Vanya? You are a demon. You are a demon in human skin." Abigail smiled. "I advise you to be more rational, Ms. Hera. Your identity has always been the spokesperson for the Ravno family's foreign negotiations, otherwise you would have died long ago. If you say more, you can live longer." Hera looked down at Huntington's stiff body. After a long silence, she said, "Lehman Town. The key to Vanya is Lehman Town. All his changes happened in Lehman Town." She knew that the only way she could survive was to satisfy the witch hunter in front of her. Abigail would not be lenient to her. "Oh. Lehman Town." Hera told Abigail everything she knew about Vanya. Lehman Town, Claude, Rudolph, Jennifer, Yvonne, Vanya also helped guard Lehman Town in Wolftide. "He is such a respectable gentleman, Claude's name is included in it. It's really nostalgic." Abigail looked at the fragile Hera in front of her and said, "You are very sensible and know how to cooperate with us. Come with us now. If I have something I want to know, I will ask you at any time." Abigail left the abandoned manor with the witch hunter and returned to Fabreau City. Abigail and Hera sat opposite each other in a tightly packed carriage. Abigail was looking down at the document, which contained all the information about the murderer Vanya, while Hera sat carefully in her seat without making any sound. It was noon outside, and Abigail suddenly said, "Ms. Hera, you can open the curtains a little bit, just a little bit, and you should be able to see the parade of Ravno." Hera was startled and her breathing became rapid. "Yes, you heard it right. The Constitutional Army and the Tribunal have already captured Revno at noon today. He will be exposed to the sun for 3 days to commemorate Speaker Quint." Hera felt trembling all over. Her father, a level 5 vampire, died so quickly, and it has only been a few days. "I think Speaker Quint has been too kind to you, making you forget the horror of the Tribunal. The reason you can live is because you are useful to Speaker Quint's cause of developing the wilderness, but Speaker Quint died at the hands of heretics. This matter will not be resolved so easily. Everyone who deserves to die must die." Hera carefully used her fingers to open the curtains, and the sunlight shone on her fingers, burning her skin. The diffuse light of the sun also made Hera's exposed skin feel abnormally stinging, and her fingers quickly covered with red spots, as if they were touched by a branding iron. She looked outside through the gap in the curtains. At this time, the carriage was passing by the former red church. There was a pole on the red church, and a man was tied to the pole, a man with red spots all over his face. That was her father. Judging from his burnt facial features, it was her father, Ravno. Whether the murderer is Ravno or not, he must die. Who left the words "Ravno will avenge" at the scene of Speaker Quint's death? And I can tell you another piece of news. On the night of the speaker's death, the 2 blood clans that Ravno came to help were also completely wiped out by the Constitutional Army. Abigail watched the sunlight disappear from the carriage, watched Hera tremble as she grabbed her burned fingers, and continued. "I think you should understand our determination. Speaker Quint is Director Quint's father. We are serious and we will do anything for Speaker Quint. So, Ms. Hera, do you have anything else to tell me? You only have this one chance. If I am not satisfied with what you say, in 3 minutes, you will be like your father, and die from exposure for 3 days. Hera in front of him has been dealing with other forces on behalf of the Ravno family. She must know a lot." "Yes. Yes," Hera said in a panic, "Vanya is not alone, he has always had some accomplices." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 274. It was noon, but Rudolph, who was hiding in the crowd, was sweating coldly. It was said that the 4 regiments of the Constitutional Army went out together and headed straight for the Blood Clan family in the wilderness, destroyed 3 castles in succession, and finally forced the 3rd Blood Clan family to hand over Ravno. Ravno, the Blood Clan that had hovered over Fabreau City for hundreds of years, was exposed to the sun in the square of the original church. Rudolph wiped the sweat from his head. This time the trial office was serious. After watching Ravno being exposed to the sun for a while, Rudolph walked out of the square. A carriage passed by Rudolph and passed him from behind. I don't know what big shot also came to watch Ravno's death. There were heavy curtains on the carriage, blocking the view from inside and outside. The carriage went directly to the police station, and a graceful lady walked down from the carriage. Covered with black veil, the high-split black skirt revealed her long white legs while walking. Her long legs supported her curvy body, and she walked directly to the director's office. The police officers stood by the aisle and discussed something, but no one was surprised. Their director's preferences were no secret in Fabreau City. In the office, Claude was frowning and looking out the window. For several consecutive days, Vice Speaker Abel told him to cut ties with Rudolph. This made Claude very distressed. Rudolph was not bad, he was just a little impulsive. Rudolph was just a 20-year-old young man with simple values. People in the Dordo district should not become the painful sacrifices of the evil god. Claude would not cut ties with Rudolph. He had his own bottom line. The so-called cut-off was not to never contact Rudolph again, but to take the lead in arresting Rudolph to satisfy Quinn and let Quinn vent his anger. A knock on the door pulled Claude's thoughts back from the window. "Come in." The office door opened, and Claude saw a lady taking off her veil. On her beautiful face, a pair of green eyes were full of light, smiling at him. She took the first step forward, and the side of her high-slit skirt revealed her white and straight thighs. What a perfect lady! Claude's heart was pounding, and his heart was raised to his throat, blocking his trachea and making him unable to breathe. This scene, just like when he first met her in the joint operation of the police station and the trial office more than 10 years ago, made him unable to control himself. Claude excitedly touched her clothes, and when his hand passed over his lower abdomen, he pressed his lower abdomen. His movements were so hidden, just like the uncontrollable panic when he was excited. There was a battery the size of a fingernail hidden in his lower abdomen, and the battery had 2 fine needles, which pierced his lower abdomen. After feeling a slight tingling pain, he stood up and walked towards the door. The electric shock in his lower abdomen gave Claude a little more sense of security and made him feel rational. Claude walked quickly to the door and closed it impatiently, then raised his arm to make it easier for Abigail to put her hand on the back of Claude's hand. "Abigail. I haven't seen you for so many years. Do you know how much I miss you?" Abigail was so close to Claude that she saw tears in Claude's eyes. Abigail's fingers gently rubbed the back of Claude's hand. Just this action made Claude unable to control his emotions and his breathing became rapid. They knew each other before. Abigail used to be the most outstanding witch hunter in the Fabreau City trial office, but later she followed Quinn to the county city of Vichy. At that time, the young Claude didn't care who Abigail belonged to, and he pursued Abigail fiercely. Later, for some reason, he was driven to Lehman Town, and his teacher Abel said that he took a lot of effort to save him. "Abigail, will you come to see me?" Abigail was a little uncomfortable with someone who was devoted to her without any charm. "Claude, I came back to investigate the death of Speaker Quint." "Abigail, Quinn only values your ability, he doesn't really love you. Why do you have to show up for him? Come with me, Abigail, I have prepared my thesis. Some time ago, I learned a new exploration method from a friend, electromagnetic exploration. I think I can rely on this thesis to become a level 4 alchemist." Facing Claude, who was holding her hand tightly, Abigail was a little uncomfortable, to be honest. Her powerful charm ability was useless, because there was no need to use the power of the silver snake, and Claude in front of him fell. "Claude, if you can become a level 4 alchemist, then I really want to congratulate you. But as a duty, I want to ask you some questions." Abigail stared at Claude's eyes. Her eyes were so beautiful that Claude saw rippling water waves in them. "If you use your charm, it will be an insult to me. How can I hide anything from you?" Although he said so, Claude's eyes became more and more blurred as he looked at Abigail. "Claude, what do you know about the death of Speaker Quint?" In Claude's lower abdomen, the small battery was constantly sending stimulating current into Claude's body. When he saw Quinn at the funeral, Claude anticipated the scene and made some preparations. This small battery is a level 4 alchemical product that can help Claude stay awake. Facing Abigail's question, Claude sat on the sofa with her, so close to her, and hot air came out of his nostrils, showing the desire and heat in his heart. "My beloved Abigail, the death of Speaker Quint was planned by Ravno. Ravno had already arranged a backup plan. He had already arranged for a vampire to defect from the family. Because that vampire defected from the Ravno family, he was still active in Fabreau after the Blood Mist Night, and no one was angry with him because of the Blood Mist Night. However, on the night when Ravno took revenge on Fabreau, the vampire Vanya raided the parliament and killed Speaker Quint to vent Ravno's anger. Abigail was a little confused. What Claude said in front of her was completely different from what she guessed. Either Claude knew nothing, or Claude had already mastered the method to fight against the Silver Snake. But seeing Claude's perverted look, Abigail guessed it was the former. The chief of police station didn't know much more about the truth than her, and only knew the superficial news. It was right to abandon Claude at the beginning. Even if Claude became the chief of police station, he still looked like a waste. I don't know why he is so happy every day. On the night when Speaker Quint was killed, another wizard attacked the speaker. Do you know what that wizard did? Scorpio wizard Rudolph and Blood Clan traitor Vanya are from Lehman Town like you. Did you instruct the wizard to help Blood Clan traitor Vanya attack Speaker Quint, or was there any arrangement by Vice Speaker Abel? Neither. The Ravno family has a cancer wizard of its own. It was the Blood Clan traitor Vanya who attacked Speaker Quint with a magic weapon. This matter has nothing to do with me or Vice Speaker Abel. Abigail felt uncomfortable staying in this office because Claude was too proactive and became the one who controlled the situation. Abigail was used to controlling others, and this situation made her very uncomfortable. Abigail did not stay long and left quickly. Claude took out the battery with a fine needle from his abdomen with difficulty. His lower abdomen kept twitching because of the long-term electric shock. He looked at the closed door with an ugly face, sat on the sofa, and thought about how to break the situation. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 275. The meeting place turned out to be the bathhouse in Bath. Claude felt frightened. Rudolph, do you still want to take a bath in the hot springs? Then what can we do? We can't get into the coffin just like the vampires out of fear. Don't worry, I won't be caught that easily. Rudolph has Larry, a level 4 speech spirit, which is enough to interfere with the tracking of most enemies. Unless they also call in a level 4 speech spirit, no one can catch Rudolph. Rudolph, how much money do you have? Claude asked this question directly. Rudolph took out his bank card, which was his account at the city bank. There are about 40,000 gold shields here. After taking the bank card, Claude sighed, you still have money. I have not saved enough 10,000 gold shields in more than a year since I became director. What do you want the money for? I want to be promoted as soon as possible and become a level 4 alchemist, otherwise both of us will be in danger. What danger? What danger? How could you ask such a thing? All the county witch hunters are looking for me. Claude took a long breath of cigarette. Who in Fabreau City doesn't know that you are mine? Seeing as you are a level 4 wizard now, you are still mine. If the death of Speaker Quint is finally found on you, it will not be easy for you and me. Are you also in danger? Where is acting Speaker Abel? Won't he come forward to protect you? Claude looked ugly. That's the problem, he wants me to cut with you. After putting out the cigarette, Claude patted Rudolph heavily on the shoulder. He did it. Now that Quint is dead, it seems that Quint has become the most aggrieved, unfortunate, and most worthy of sympathy. But who remembers that if Quint hadn't died, then there would be more people in Dordo district now. How many blood servants will be produced, and how many more divine servants will be produced? Teacher Abel has his own considerations, but I still think you are right. Don't worry, Rudolph, I won't give up on you. When I become a level 4 alchemist, I will also run for deputy speaker. This deputy speaker, others can sit, but I can't? When the time comes, no one else can make us feel uncomfortable. We will do whatever it takes to get at us. I do it openly and you do it secretly. Is it perfect? Rudolph only felt that the clouds suddenly cleared and the moon suddenly appeared. Yes, as long as Claude becomes the deputy speaker, What can be done without Claude's permission? We will be just two sticks to stir things up. Let's see if they have a headache, he asked excitedly. How much money do you have left? Claude said with some embarrassment, there is still a gap of 20,000 to 30,000 gold shields. The experiment to promote to level 4 alchemist is very expensive, especially my direction is related to electromagnetism. The alchemist's experiments require a large amount of materials, and this kind of apostle is the exclusive apostle of the rich. I'll help you get the money. Okay. Let's take a chance. I will become the deputy speaker and use the trade in the wilderness to blackmail them and force them to abandon the investigation of you. This is the only chance I can think of, Claude warned. Rudolph, you must be careful. The people in the county judicial office are not simple. Quint's son, Quinn, is a level 4 alchemist. His most important subordinate, Abigail, is a level 4 silver snake. Recently, before Quinn took over Quint's shares and influence, the main person investigating Quint's death was Abigail. I will ask Mrs. Jessica to help you with special training for a few days so that you will not be defenseless in front of the silver snake. Claude was only one step away from becoming a level 4 alchemist. He was going to fight for the only chance. After saying that, he left the bathhouse. Mrs. Jessica also entered Rudolph's lounge after Claude left. Don't worry, don't be nervous, I won't come to charm you. I heard from Claude that you are already a level 4 wizard. My charm is of no use to you. I'm just here to tell you some ways to deal with the silver snake. Rudolph was relieved to hear that he was not bewitched by Mrs. Jessica. Although he is now at a higher level than Claude, Claude is still like an elder to him. Let him accept the charm of Mrs. Jessica. Rudolph would not be able to do such a thing. Rudolph, when facing a silver snake, the first tip is never to look directly into the silver snake's eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. Some silver snakes specialize in charming other people through their eyes. I heard Claude say, Abigail is very good at using her eyes. Second, do not look directly at any exposed skin of the silver snake. When some people see arms, they think of shoulders, and when they see shoulders, they think of other parts covered by clothes, and then they are charmed by the silver snake. A wave of the silver snake's hand or a touch of its leg may cause you to fall into the trap. Third, if you can, hold your breath and be alert to any odors you smell. Those odors may contain this very troublesome and charming fragrance. In short, Rudolph, when you see the silver snake, it is best not to have any form of contact with the silver snake. Rudolph nodded. Since Claude valued that silver snake Abigail so much, it must be because she was really powerful. I know, I will try to avoid any form of contact with silver snake. I can't charm you, so let Yanilla train with you. The effect will be the same. When Yanilla heard this, she was eager to show off her skills. Rudolph completely ignored Yanilla and fell into deep thought, thinking about how to deal with the current complicated situation. His biggest trouble now is actually Abel's attitude as acting speaker. Acting speaker Abel no longer supported Rudolph, believing that Rudolph's behavior was too outrageous, which made Claude powerless. Claude had to seek promotion and use this method to get out of his current predicament. It is too dangerous to rely on the attitude of Vice Speaker Abel for his safety. Claude still lacks 30,000 gold shields, which is a huge amount. Among the 40,000 gold shields given to Claude, there is also money borrowed from interest-free loans. The interest-free 30,000 gold shields does not mean that they do not need to be repaid. In other words, Rudolph has a gap of 60,000 gold shields. Oh my God, even the greediest alchemist cannot get so many gold shields in a short time. Just when Rudolph was worried, Yanilla found that no matter how she lifted her skirt just now, it was useless, so she changed her method, sprayed her own perfume on her wrist, and put it in front of Rudolph's nose, who closed his eyes and thought, I can hold my breath for a long time. What's more, the perfume of the silver snake's tail is not as useful as the aroma of wine. Try to fight me tomorrow and see if I can master your movements without looking at you during the action. This made Yanilla even more angry. She worked hard all night, but the effect was not as good as before. This Friday night, Rudolph asked Larry to divine and it was safe to go to the Black Gold Institute. He made all the relics in his inventory into witchcraft tools and sold them at the Black Gold Bureau. To his disappointment, he only sold more than 3,000 gold shields, which was still a long way from 60,000. After coming out of the Black Gold Bureau, Rudolph still chose to go to the bathhouse to rest. Hearing the light footsteps again, Rudolph still chose to close himself off and not let Yanilla take advantage of him. At this time, in a dressing room of the bathhouse, 4 witch hunters were looking at the owner of the bathhouse, Base, and Yanilla, not letting them make any sound. Base was looking at his face with a crazy look, his face flushed, and he stared at his left hand affectionately. This left hand was so precious. He just shook hands with a beautiful lady, and he didn't want to wash his hands this year. Yanilla was gagged and was struggling anxiously at this time, but the witch hunter made her unable to move. She had tears in her eyes. Thinking about the situation in the lounge, she felt extremely scared. A beautiful woman with a black veil on her face was squatting in Yanilla's usual position, massaging Rudolph. Rudolph still had his eyes closed, completely unaware of the situation around him, and was still practicing his method of dealing with the silver snake. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 276. Rudolph felt that Yanilla's technique was good tonight. After massaging his shoulders, she began to stroke Rudolph's neck. Unlike the previous immaturity, Rudolph didn't know why his breathing was a little rapid and his heartbeat was also speeding up when his fingertips rubbed against his skin tonight. As Yanilla's fingers moved, the muscles on Rudolph's shoulders tightened and relaxed. Rudolph lay on his back in the chair and suddenly felt a strand of hair fall on his cheek. The tingling sensation on his cheek made Rudolph's heart begin to ripple. This unintentional teasing made Rudolph feel that Yanilla was making rapid progress. In a trance, Rudolph's eyelids became heavier and heavier, and he was immersed in the deepest spring dream. In the dream, Ivan was lying in Rudolph's arms. "Rudolph, I'm so worried about you." "It's okay, Ivan, everything will be over when Claude becomes a level 4 alchemist." "I'm still worried about you. Why don't we tell them where Vanya is?" "Where Vanya is?" "Yeah, if they know where Vanya is, they won't come looking for us." Rudolph wanted to open his eyes, but his eyelids were heavy and he couldn't open them. "Rudolph, tell them where Vanya is." Ivan's crying voice kept ringing in Rudolph's ears, making Rudolph soft-hearted and wanting to do as Ivan told him. At this moment, in Rudolph's star map, the Pisces puppet light cocoon where Larry was located emitted a dazzling light. This was Larry's dangerous intuition giving Rudolph a strong reminder that Rudolph was in a huge crisis. Most divination techniques can only be used once a night. Larry divined whether the Black Gold Institute was safe tonight and has returned to the star map to hide. As Ivan cried, the will of the silver snake was invading Rudolph's consciousness. Rudolph's eyelids were drooping, and his eyelids were red as if illuminated by the sun. That was Larry desperately reminding Rudolph to use the light of the light cocoon to make Rudolph more awake. Rudolph used all his strength and finally raised his eyelids a little bit. He saw a strand of black hair. Black hair? When did Yvonne dye her hair? The next moment, he saw a pair of green eyes. Rudolph was only wearing a simple bathrobe, which had been pushed open at this time, exposing his chest. The woman next to him was tightly pressed against him, her black gauze skirt was also disheveled, and she was reaching her hands into Rudolph's bathrobe. The pair of green eyes, as if covered with a thin layer of mist, were looking at Rudolph affectionately. At this time, there was a trace of doubt in the green eyes. Why was the person in front of her not completely enchanted? But even if she was not enchanted, she had little resistance left. Abigail pulled out an alchemical dagger from the belt wrapped around her thigh and stabbed it directly into Rudolph's heart. Silently, a bat quietly appeared above the heads of the two people who were entangled together. The bat quickly physionied and instantly turned into a group of bats, which formed an arm above. The arm had no shoulders. Where the shoulders should be, there were several bats with half of their bodies exposed. The bat's wings were flapping outside to provide power for the arm. A pale hand suddenly appeared and tightly grasped Abigail's wrist. At this time, the alchemical dagger had pierced Rudolph's skin, and the alchemical power burned Rudolph's skin with a wisp of black smoke. At the same time, the blood-cut line that suddenly appeared on the arm stabbed forward like a red snake, about to crush the woman's white jade arm. Abigail's black gauze skirt suddenly fell off halfway, and the whole lounge seemed to be brighter. White, plump, and bright red, half of her body was exposed in front of Rudolph. Rudolph was hot and hot all over, his face flushed, his hormones were disordered uncontrollably, and his breathing became rapid. This made Vanya's movements slow down a bit. It was this short delay that gave Abigail time to break free from the restraints of the bat's arms. Her wrists were so smooth that she just stepped back slightly and broke free from the restraints of Vanya's arms and retreated to the corner of the wall not far away. Rudolph punched himself in the chest a few times, forcibly suppressed the man's instinct, and turned over and left the recliner. The moment he landed, Rudolph instantly felt his legs go weak, as if he had found Jennifer at noon and was entangled by Yvonne all night. His lower abdomen was empty and sore, and his knees couldn't stand up. He wanted to hold the recliner, but he even knocked it down. In the chaos, Rudolph touched the cane he placed next to the recliner, which made him feel a little relieved. Several witch hunters heard the strangeness here and rushed into Rudolph's exclusive lounge. At this time, the lounge was already full of flying bats. Vanya didn't need to show up in full, he only needed 2 arms to fight. From time to time, 3 or 5 bats gathered together and turned into Vanya's arms. His arms appeared behind the witch hunters and under their feet, attacking the witch hunters at extremely tricky angles. Protect Ms. Abigail. These witch hunters wanted to trap Vanya's arms regardless of death, but every time Vanya's arms were caught, they would scatter into bats. The ability of bats to transform is very strong, especially suitable for melee. Abigail and several witch hunters couldn't even see Vanya's face, and could only fight with 2 arms that appeared and disappeared from time to time, and 2 witch hunters were already lying on the ground. At this time, the door of the lounge opened again, and Yanilla and Base also entered the lounge. Rudolph, she is a silver snake. It is a level 4 silver snake, Yanilla reminded Rudolph, wanting Rudolph to be careful. In the chaos, Yanilla and Base came to Rudolph's side. Abigail bit her lips gently, and touched her arm that was just hurt by Vanya pitifully. Just this one action made Rudolph's blood surge again. Be careful. At this moment, Base behind Rudolph suddenly raised his hand, and he also had an alchemical dagger in his hand. The alchemical dagger stabbed Rudolph's back fiercely. What those witch hunters did not do, Base did. Yanilla reacted quickly at this time, and grabbed Base's arm with her thin arm, which made Base stab crooked. The strong burning sensation made Rudolph glad that the alchemical dagger did not pierce Rudolph's heart. In a panic, Yanilla grabbed the dagger and stopped it from going deeper. Blood flowed from her palm, and because of the burning properties of the alchemical dagger, it dried up quickly, making a sizzling sound. Rudolph turned around and saw Base looking at Abigail with an obsessed face. Base was so confused that he probably didn't even know what he was doing. Rudolph endured the pain and stabbed his cane into the ground. The ground around him suddenly glowed red, like fresh and rolling magma, followed by a violent explosion, which blew off the roof. Quince gunpowder was very effective. During the explosion, Rudolph spread his bat wings and flew away from the bathhouse with Yanilla and the knocked-out Base. In the group of bats behind him, Yanilla's 2 arms were still elusive, buying time for Rudolph. Abigail looked at Rudolph flying away, her face no longer charming, only gloomy. Why is this wizard immune to all the tracking methods of witch hunters? Why can he resist her charm? The elites of the county court spent more than a week to find this opportunity, but it was wasted just like that. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 277. Rudolph put Yanilla and Bass at the door of Mrs. Jessica. Contact Claude. Wait for him to come and protect you. Looking at Rudolph who was going away, and then looking at Bas who was confused and didn't know what happened, Yanilla was furious. Why couldn't she conquer Rudolph repeatedly and let her become a level 4 silver snake, so that she wouldn't be afraid of that woman? However, that woman was really powerful. She could make Bass look so stupid, and Rudolph couldn't resist head-on and could only run away. Mrs. Jessica opened the door and saw the two people at the door. Come in quickly. Mom, you should cure Mr. Bass quickly. He has become a fool obsessed with silver snakes. Seeing Bass's appearance, Jessica couldn't help shaking her head. The silver snake power in Bass's body was almost exhausted. As long as he didn't see the level 4 silver snake Abigail again, he would slowly forget the level 4 silver snake under the treatment of time. Rudolph flew quickly to the orphanage in the Dordo district, opened the door, and found Ivan sewing clothes under the window. Ivan, we are going to escape and leave the orphanage. Looking at Rudolph's apologetic eyes, Ivan was stunned. She looked around with reluctance, and looked at the orphanage that she was already familiar with. Okay. We'll leave now. Rudolph was heartbroken, but he had no choice. The strength of the level 4 silver snake Abigail was too strong, and it had a great impact on the people around Rudolph. Rudolph could only take away the most important person to him. The two packed up their things, just like they had left number 15, Paget Street, Lehman Town, a little embarrassed and a little reluctant. Larry appeared and did a divination before leaving. The result was that there was no smooth moment, and the sooner he left, the better. With this worst ending, Rudolph and Ivan did not hesitate and flew quickly towards the suburbs. After leaving Fabreau City, Rudolph did not take the main road, but chose the direction with the least people. What made Rudolph shudder was that every few dozen meters on the ground, there was a round black shadow. Only by looking carefully could you see that it was the head of a corpse exposed outside. Rudolph had a bad premonition. Soon, there were more and more corpses around. Cooper, it was Cooper's army of corpses. I don't know how Cooper got the news. The soil on the ground broke open and Cooper came out of the soil. He was waiting for Rudolph here. Rudolph, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Cooper looked at the package behind Ivan and asked in confusion, Rudolph, where are you and Ivan going? Why do you have to bring gifts? There is no way. The witch hunters from the Judgment Bureau are too strong this time. In front of her charm, I can easily fall into a passive position and cannot form a decent resistance at all. Is she so strong? Cooper walked towards Rudolph. Then I will go with you. I think Fabreau City is not interesting anymore. Ivan was very happy. It was much better to have an acquaintance with her than to be alone with Rudolph. Standing in front of Rudolph, Cooper looked at Rudolph with a smile. Cooper, you didn't have so many expressions before. I rarely saw you smile. Facing Rudolph's doubts, Cooper's smile became brighter. He touched the back of his head and said embarrassedly, Really? Do I rarely smile? Rudolph looked cold and angry. Cooper's face was abnormally flushed. The zombie's face, which should be as pale as a corpse, was flushed. Bass had this symptom before. First Bass, then Cooper. As Rudolph guessed, the strength of the county court was so strong that they investigated him thoroughly in a short period of time, even knowing his network of relationships. Rudolph didn't even hide his alchemical magic weapon in front of Abigail, because he felt it was unnecessary. The investigation of the court had directly locked him. The ability of the silver snake is very strong, but the mechanism of the silver snake's charm determines that those who are charmed will have these symptoms, and the flushing face is the easiest to find among these symptoms. A knight's sword pierced the soil behind Rudolph fiercely, with a hazy white light and extremely fast speed, stabbing Rudolph's back. Yvonne looked at everything in front of her in astonishment, not knowing why Cooper suddenly attacked Rudolph. There was a corpse every few dozen meters, an abnormal smile, a rare psychedelic smile for Cooper, and a flushed face. All of this made Rudolph alert long ago. A group of bats flew close to the ground. At this time, the bats had turned into two arms, tightly holding the wrists of the knight's corpse. Vanya is now also a level 4 vampire. Although he is not as strong as the knight, he can still block the knight's sword before the knight's sword reaches its fastest speed. Rudolph stabbed his cane into the ground, and the gunpowder-trained fingers were activated instantly. The surrounding ground was glowing red. The next second, a violent explosion occurred around Rudolph. Whatever was underground would be lifted up in this explosion. After the fireworks and dust dispersed, Rudolph took Yvonne and retreated to the back. At the end of the fireworks, several corpses fell down, protecting Cooper behind. "Cooper, have you also seen Abigail?" A night team appeared in front of Cooper, and Cooper flicked off the dust on his body. "Rudolph, I'm in love, you know. There has never been a woman who cares about me like she does. I have long been disgusted with the dampness and coldness of the cemetery and the smell of corpses. It was she who made me feel warm." At this moment, Rudolph hated Abigail so much that she made the men around him fall one by one and crawl under her pomegranate skirt. Rudolph whispered to Yvonne, "Run. Don't worry about him, run as fast as you can, and escape from the scope of Fabreau City. Cooper, one day I will come back to save you." Several purple fireballs appeared, forcing the knights who were about to charge to stop. Rudolph and Yvonne opened their iron bat wings behind them, past the night team and Cooper, and fled far away. Cooper also had a level 3 vampire corpse. At this time, the two vampire corpses opened their iron bat wings and chased Rudolph and Yvonne. At the same time, the knights on the ground drove their war horses and galloped behind Rudolph and Yvonne. Rudolph didn't want to hurt Cooper, but it didn't mean he was afraid of the two vampire corpses. Vanya's bat incarnation appeared, and the bat group entangled the two vampire corpses. Two arms suddenly appeared from behind them, and soon cut the two vampires into pieces and fell to the ground. When Rudolph looked back, he saw the city center of Fabreau City. Two airships of the Judgment Bureau had taken off and flew here. Damn it! At this moment, Rudolph felt that the whole city of Fabreau was against him. He had no friends and no support. The speed of the two airships was so fast that only by facing the airships could you realize how powerful the alchemists' war weapons were. What's more terrible is that more than a dozen rockets have been fired from the airships at such a distance. Rudolph thought of those white phosphorus bombs, which were alchemical weapons that even Ravno was afraid of. "I just don't know if there are any weapons like Colonel Gayton on the airship of the Judgment Bureau." Just when Rudolph felt that everything was so difficult, he suddenly heard the voice of an old lady, and this voice was so familiar. "Rudolph. Relax. I'll help you. It's the guide Windsor." Rudolph could only pin his hopes on the guide, the level 4 Libra wizard Windsor. Windsor was like an ordinary old lady going to buy groceries, carrying a basket. She stretched out her hand to the sky, and a tornado suddenly appeared in her palm. The tornado suddenly rolled towards Rudolph with an exaggerated speed. Rudolph and Yvonne spread their huge iron bat wings and were swept up to the sky by the tornado, and the speed was also exaggerated. The dozen rockets did not even touch Rudolph, and were thrown away by the tornado's tail, and Rudolph also disappeared in the clouds. The guide Windsor looked at the direction where Rudolph was going away and smiled with satisfaction. She walked back to Fabreau City slowly. It was really lively tonight. Not long after, Abigail appeared in front of her. Guide, you shouldn't interfere with the actions of the tribunal. Do you want to support the evil wizard? Evil? When Quint gave half of Fabreau City to Ravno, you are not qualified to judge anyone from the perspective of justice. The guide laughed mockingly. Fabreau City has been so successful in developing the wilderness. This has not only attracted the attention of other cities, other counties, and other provinces, but even some kingdoms have sent people to learn from Fabreau City's experience in private. Do you know how many people are secretly investigating Quint? Do you know how much intelligence is hidden in some inconspicuous transactions of the black gold? Don't scare me with the tribunal. Quint's methods cannot be seen in the light. You should pray that those who have completed the investigation will not make Quint's methods public. Otherwise, the provincial parliament will not dig up Quint's grave, which is not enough to quell the bad public opinion storm. Guide Windsor is a woman, and she is not afraid of Abigail's methods. She feels that if she doesn't take action tonight, Rudolph may really be beaten to death by the tribunal, which is a pity. She glanced at Abigail, whose face was ashen, with contempt, and slowly walked towards the Black Gold Institute. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 278. Shall we flee to other cities and hide? Facing Yvonne's question, Rudolph shook his head. No, I believe in Claude. He can resist Abigail's charm, and he will definitely become a level 4 alchemist. As long as he is successfully promoted, there is a possibility of a comeback, and I am not willing to just run away. Yvonne was not willing to leave Fabreau City just like that, where they had too many memories. Let Larry do a divination tomorrow night, and then we'll find a level 4 werewolf tribe to help you become a level 4 werewolf. Yvonne nodded. She was now eager to be promoted and help Rudolph. Is Cooper okay? Yvonne was still a little worried about Cooper. It should be fine. Cooper is now Abigail's very useful puppet. There is no need to worry about his safety. Who would have thought that a high-level silver snake could be so terrifying and able to control so many followers? Maybe just a chance encounter or a look can make another man fall in love at first sight and be willing to die for the one he thinks he loves. Rudolph was very grateful to the guide. Unexpectedly, the guide finally stepped in and helped Rudolph. Otherwise, he would have been entangled by the alchemist's airship, which would have been troublesome. Entering the wilderness again, Rudolph felt much more relaxed. Finally at night, Larry did a reverse divination first. To avoid other speaking spirits using divination to follow up. There are no level 4 speech spirits in Fabreau City. Larry can only speak short sentences now and can only express simple results. The word spirits in the judgment office must be very confused now. A level 4 word spirit is doing reverse divination for Rudolph. The word spirits in the judgment office must not be able to divine anything. The promotion of Yanling requires the perfect divination of a major event, and many major events will be greatly different from previous expectations due to small factors. Therefore, the promotion of Yanling requires luck the most. High-level speech spirits are very rare. Unlike Rudolph, you can directly use the star map to upgrade Larry's level. Assurance procedures. Larry said another short word, which made Rudolph frown deeply. The grassroots judicial bureaus are insufficient in strength. If they encounter something that is difficult to determine, they can initiate the forensic process and send relevant samples to high-level judicial bureaus for identification. It is true that there are no level 4 speech spirits in Fabreau City, but Quince-related items and even blood samples may have been sent to the provincial judgment hall for identification. This may be the reason why Abigail can immediately lock Rudolph and Vanya. Rudolph is still complacent about his many designs, but the witch hunter has already used more advanced means to know the answer, which is the dimensionality reduction strike of the Inquisition office. Rudolph closed his eyes in pain, Fighting against the huge organization was really disappointing. At this time, Rudolph even hoped that Claude could be successfully promoted. Only by finding helpers from within the parliament can Rudolph avoid being bitten by a behemoth like the tribunal. The next night, Rudolph asked Larry to divine a direction suitable for them. This direction must have level 4 werewolves suitable for them, but at the same time, there must be no dangers that are difficult for them to deal with. The Red Wolf King established Ruhr City. There are many werewolves between Ruhr City and Fabro City, and there are also several level 4 werewolf tribes. I heard that Ruhr City has begun to look like a werewolf city, and werewolves like that city very much. After getting the direction, Rudolph and Ivan flew in the direction of the level 4 werewolf tribe. After flying for an unknown number of kilometers, I saw a werewolf tribe appearing in the distance. In the center of the werewolf tribe was a large tent with a diameter of more than 20 meters. In front of the tent is a werewolf campfire party. Some female werewolves were topless and dancing an unknown dance in front, with a rough style and a wide range of movements. Other werewolves sat around on both sides, and there was a low table in front of each werewolf. Fruit and meat were also placed on the low table. Under the initiative of the Red Wolf King, these werewolves became more and more like humans. What is even more eye-catching are the 2 long shelves next to the campfire, with a person hanging on the shelves. These poor people were bleeding, their legs, their internal organs, and their arms were cut open by the werewolves, and their flesh was taken alive for the enjoyment of the werewolves. This is a huge werewolf tribe, with more than a dozen level 3 werewolves and hundreds of level 2 werewolves. While the werewolves were enjoying the wine they had just purchased, the level 4 werewolf sitting in the center suddenly frowned. He felt an abnormal vibration under his feet. "You! Get down on the ground and listen." A level 4 werewolf commanded a level 3 werewolf, and the level 3 werewolf lay on the ground obediently. "Chief, it looks like a flash flood." "Flash flood," the level 4 werewolf put down his wine glass. "It hasn't rained in the past half-month. Where did the flash flood come from?" When he turned around, he was stunned by the black and purple flash floods in the night. It's really a flash flood. A poisonous wave more than 10 meters high swept across the entire werewolf tribe. Those tents were overturned in the flash flood and were swept forward, knocking down a group of werewolves. The low-level werewolves howled in the flash flood, but lost their voices in an instant. The mountain torrent roared and rolled towards the bonfire banquet. The bonfire was extinguished by the flash flood, and the level 3 werewolf jumped up from the ground and avoided the first wave. But it's useless. Werewolves can't fly. They will eventually fall back into the flash flood. It's just a matter of time. When the level 3 werewolf fell into the water, he discovered that there was poison in the mountain torrent. The level 4 werewolf roared violently at the water waves more than 10 meters high, and sprayed wolf blade breath from his mouth. The strong breath cut the water waves in front of him in half, delaying the time for him to be swept by the water waves. But it was useless. A group of bats fell from the sky. This was not an ordinary castle bat, but an extremely fast incarnation bat. The incarnation bat became a hidden hand in the dark night. Vanya didn't need to show his face to do anything now, he just needed to complete the attack. He was holding Rudolph's cane in his hand. For a while, the cane flashed around the level 4 werewolf from time to time, inserted into the soil behind the level 4 werewolf again and again, and created explosions again and again, causing the level 4 werewolf to fall into the sea of explosions. Not long after, a graceful white wolf with level 3 iron bat wings fell from the sky. Vanya and the white wolf cooperated and attacked the flustered level 4 werewolf. The level 4 werewolf had no time to block the poisonous wave. He was swept by the poisonous wave, and the level 4 scorpion toxin was poured into his mouth. Half an hour later, in a muddy area, the white wolf left the level 4 werewolf's neck. As Rudolph's strength increased, the wizard's power was fully demonstrated in front of the weaker apostles of the same level, and Ivan's promotion became easier. Yvonne became a level 4 white wolf. Not only did her physique become much stronger, but she also had the ability to breathe wolf blades, and it was the kind of wolf blade breath mixed with lightning. Rudolph also fell to the ground and took the relics from the level 4 werewolf. This level 4 werewolf completed his mission, making full use of everything without any waste. At the same time, the werewolf tribe was also destroyed, completely destroyed by Rudolph's Dark River Ring and level 4 scorpion toxin. The wolf corpses scattered in the mud, and the relics emitting starlight. In Rudolph's eyes, these are all magic weapons that can be sold for money, and they are the golden shields that Claude urgently needs. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 279. The chaos ended, Yvonne's transformation ended, and she returned to human form. Her bat wings covered her body like a cloak. Rudolph went to rescue those who were not dead yet. These poor people were treated as meat and hung on the rack. Unfortunately, most of them had died of excessive blood loss, and Rudolph only saved 7 people. After curing these 7 people with wolf saliva, Rudolph said to them, "Let's go quickly, it's full of blood and corpses here, it's too dangerous. Go to Fabreau City, don't go out again. The toxins in the muddy water have dissipated, and these people have survived the disaster." After thanking Rudolph, they supported each other and walked away. After sending these poor people away, Rudolph began to count and collect relics. From the level 4 werewolf, Rudolph obtained 2 level 4 relics. One is the level 4 werewolf canine, and the other is the level 4 wolf pupil. The level 4 werewolf canine flew into the star map and hit the alpha star of Cancer. The progress of Cancer has reached 2/6. 3 floating stars fell from the Cancer alpha star, and Rudolph chose the level 4 breathing fang without hesitation. After drawing the astrological triangle on the ground, Rudolph placed the level 4 werewolf fang on the left ring and his cane on the right ring. There are 4 witchcraft words used for the level 4 breathing fang: Gemini witchcraft fission, Gemini witchcraft splitting, Sagittarius witchcraft laser, and Aquarius witchcraft burst. It can also be seen from these complex witchcraft words that after this witchcraft weapon is made, the attack effect will be very strong. The star power of each constellation fell from the sky and poured into Rudolph's body. The first is the Gemini witchcraft fission. The level 4 werewolf fang itself can create small and sharp wolf blade phantoms, which are like blades and can tear the target. The addition of Gemini witchcraft fission makes the already dense wolf blade phantoms more numerous. The wolf's breath has hundreds of wolf blades of different sizes per cubic meter, and the Gemini witchcraft fission can double this number. In other words, because of the addition of witchcraft, Rudolph's witchcraft is more powerful than the wolf's original breath. The second witchcraft is the Gemini witchcraft split, which can increase the cutting power of the wolf's breath. The third witchcraft is the Sagittarius witchcraft blast, which can make the wolf's breath faster. The effect of these 2 witchcraft is only enhanced, but the fourth witchcraft brings the second qualitative improvement to the entire witchcraft. The Aquarius witchcraft burst can make a large number of wolf blades suddenly launch in a short period of time. Compared with the original wolf's breath, it contains more wolf blades, faster speed, and more explosive launch. Rudolph's witchcraft is more powerful than the original wolf. The 4 kinds of star power swept the starstone powder and rolled the level 4 werewolf fangs and cane into the top ring of the big triangle. Rudolph's second level 4 magic weapon is finished. The tip of the cane, with a flame pattern formed by gold lines, is the level 4 practice finger. The tip of the cane itself is the level 4 breath tooth. Waving the cane, a hurricane with a diameter of 5 meters suddenly rushed forward. The hurricane was full of wolf blades of all sizes. The stones and trees encountered were instantly turned into ashes. Rudolph was very satisfied with this magic weapon. The second level 4 relic, the level 4 wolf pupil, lit up the Delta Cancer star, and the progress of Cancer reached 3/6. There are few bright stars in Cancer, and the progress is more than half. 3 options fell from the Delta Cancer star, and Rudolph chose the level 4 sensor wolf pupil. His level 3 wolf pupil was broken by the main priest of Painpanur. Rudolph had long wanted to add one, and now there is a better and more useful one. The level 4 sensor wolf pupil has been fully enhanced in night vision, motion capture and infrared vision. In addition to these 2 level 4 magic weapons, Rudolph can also make 15 level 3 magic weapons, 120 level 2 magic weapons, and hundreds of wolf saliva. But this takes time, and Rudolph has to work overtime for several days. The Dark River Ring is good in this respect. When the flood overflows, no one is spared. The entire tribe is neatly poisoned to death by Rudolph. Rudolph had to go to the meteorite crater to replenish the star stones first, otherwise the star stones would not be enough to make so many relics. This level 4 werewolf tribe is a werewolf tribe arranged by the Red Wolf King on the mineral transportation line, originally responsible for a length of 20 kilometers. After being wiped out overnight, the transportation of minerals was suddenly interrupted. The most trusted subordinate of the Red Wolf King, the level 4 werewolf Waldo, came with a group of werewolves to investigate and found a messy tribe. Who is it? Who dares to attack such a large tribe of ours? Waldo's roar resounded in the ruins of the tribe. Half a month later, Waldo's roar was heard again on the ruins of another werewolf tribe. Who is it? Who is attacking such a large tribe of ours again? The same method and familiar scene, the ground was covered with mud, and the bodies of werewolves were lying in the mud. Their relics were taken away, and none of them were left. Scorpio Wizard Rudolph. It's him. It must be him. The most famous wizard in Fabro City is Scorpio Wizard Rudolph. Now it is very certain that the Scorpio Wizard is already a terrifying level 4 wizard, with the strength to take down an entire level 4 werewolf tribe by himself. The werewolf's proud sense of smell tracking is useless. The Scorpio Wizard doesn't know what means to cover the tracking. Waldo led the werewolves to search around in the wilderness, but found nothing. Waldo didn't dare to delay and told the Red Wolf King about this. The Red Wolf King left Ruhr City in person and began to look for the Scorpio Wizard Rudolph in the wilderness. What Rudolph felt sorry for was that Larry's divination results proved that if Rudolph attacked the werewolf tribe for the 3rd time, he would definitely die, so Rudolph had already hidden himself. If you can't afford to offend, hide first. On Friday, when the Black Gold Exchange was trading, a man in a black robe entered the Black Gold Exchange. When the guide Windsor was checking the chess pieces, he was surprised to find that the man was holding Rudolph's black rook chess. But looking at his figure, he didn't look like Rudolph. Vanya can transform into a bat, freely gather and disperse his body, and is not afraid of any physical attack, so it was Vanya who completed the transaction. I'm sorry, Mr. Guide, Rudolph can't come in person, he asked me to thank you on his behalf. Without you, Rudolph would not have been able to escape from Fabro City that night. Nothing, I just can't stand them doing so much. Go in, if you want to thank me, then come to Black Gold to trade more. Tonight's transaction volume will definitely satisfy you. Soon, Rudolph let the guide know what sincerity is. Vanya brought 2 level 4 magic weapons and sold them for 16,000 gold shields. 30 level 3 magic weapons, sold for 45,000 gold shields. 210 level 2 magic weapons, 42,000 gold shields. There are also 2,000 wolf saliva, 1,000 gold shields. I don't know which werewolf tribe is so unlucky that it was wiped out by the wizard. Faced with the exaggerated number of werewolf magic weapons, the heretics deeply understood why the wizard must die. That night, werewolf magic weapons flooded Fabro City. Some people even bought in large quantities and planned to sell them to other cities. Fabro City has gathered countless heretics. Fabro City in the past could not digest such an amount. 93,600 gold shields, this is what Rudolph earned tonight. Fortunately, it was paper money. If it was gold coins from hundreds of years ago, Vanya would not be able to carry so many gold coins. Rudolph's black rook chess piece was also successfully upgraded to a black soldier. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 280. The news of a large number of werewolf magic weapons on the market has not only spread widely in the black market, but also the Alchemy Council has learned about this news. In the City Council, acting Speaker Abel found Claude in his office. Claude has been in the laboratory these days. To be honest, he is not good at doing experiments or writing papers, but there is no way. He can only force himself to bite the bullet and do it. He is now the hope of many people. Claude, do you know that there are a large number of werewolf magic weapons on the market? Really? How many are a large number? 2 level 4 magic weapons, 30 level 3 magic weapons, and more than 200 level 2 magic weapons. Claude paused. This is indeed a lot. The Red Wolf King must be in pain now. Level 4 werewolves are not so easy to cultivate. Every level 4 apostle has gone through untold hardships to appear. Claude, you should be more serious now. Abel was a little angry, and his tone became more serious. Why don't you ask which wizard suddenly made so many werewolf magic weapons? Claude looked at the teacher in front of him. Teacher Abel didn't know when he dyed his white hair into gold, which made the wrinkles on his face seem lighter, making him look energetic and full of fighting spirit. Claude shrugged. Teacher, I know who it is. Rudolph has lost control. It turns out that his previous kindness was all a false disguise. Rudolph lost control after being driven out of Fabreau City. Claude still didn't care. Besides, how can cleaning up a few werewolf tribes be considered out of control? I think he should be rewarded. Teacher, do you want to contact Rudolph? I think he would like to be an outstanding citizen again. Nonsense. Abel looked at the most talented student in front of him with a look of disappointment. The werewolf tribe is so close to Fabreau City. They are already Fabreau City. A part of the city of Bro that cannot be cut off. The death of a large number of werewolves has even affected the transportation of minerals in the Ruhr mining area. The Red Wolf King has deliberately delayed the transportation several times, forcing the city of Fabreau to take measures against the Scorpio wizard Rudolph. Claude, be more mature. You are already in your 30s, don't delay the important events of Fabreau for the sake of some friend's loyalty. Claude felt that these things were annoying. He didn't want to listen. He picked his ears and asked a question. Teacher, how many shares did Thor Trading Company and Rondo Trading Company give you? Abel hesitated. He was hesitating whether to tell Claude the real data. But Claude didn't rush to urge, as if he had known something for a long time. Finally, Abel just said, I can also fight for some shares for you. So, Mr. Abel, the Ruhr mining area is no longer Quint's mining area, but your mining area. So, Mr. Abel, Rudolph did not kill the werewolf tribe, but the mining area's transport team. So, Mr. Abel, you will be the undisputed speaker in the next election, right? Abel did not answer directly. Claude, I am now thinking about the problem as the speaker of Fabreau City. The overall interests of Fabreau City are above all else. Quint has done a lot of wrong things. What I want to do is not to overturn all of Quint's achievements, but to make corrections and use these achievements to make Fabreau City better. Claude was not interested in these righteous things, and his expression became more and more impatient. Abel had to come up with something new. Claude, we alchemists need a lot of resources to advance. Advancement requires a laboratory, and the cost of renting a laboratory is incredibly high. Advancement requires a lot of raw materials, and refined lead, refined copper, and refined iron are needed. To advance to a level 4 alchemist, refined steel is also needed. Several tons of steel may not be able to refine a few hundred grams of refined steel. To advance to a level 4 alchemist, at least tens of thousands of gold shields are needed. The same is true for me. I want to advance to a level 5 alchemist, which requires nearly 200,000 gold shields of resources. We are extremely short of raw materials, and all of this requires money. You are an alchemist, and you should know the importance of the Ruhr mining area to us. If you think talking about money is vulgar, then let's talk about the future. It is not only your future and mine. In the future, most alchemists in Vichy County will rely on the Ruhr mining area for advancement. I know you are advancing to a level 4 alchemist. Claude, help me once, and help you once, design a plan to capture Rudolph, and I will give you all the resources. Claude did not comment, he did not want to listen. As for designing a plan to capture Rudolph, Claude had never thought about it that way. Abel knew that his student was very stubborn, so he continued. Claude, if Rudolph was only a level 3 wizard, I would like him as much as you do. But he has been promoted and has become a level 4 wizard. He has completely lost control and is no longer someone we can control. Moreover, the reason why you and I are fine now is because Quint's blood sample was sent to the Provincial Court of Inquiry. The Court of Inquiry made an identification and found that a Scorpio wizard killed Speaker Quint on his own on impulse. Claude, I am glad that you did not get involved. Rudolph must die. Even if Quint's son Quint does not ask for it, we must kill this dangerous person. Rudolph attacked Quint in order to save the Dordo district. If Quint did not move the Dordo district, Rudolph would not interfere. Abel sneered. What a ridiculous reason. Now Quint is dead, and Quint has become the speaker who died tragically at the hands of a wizard. No matter what he did, Quint was a martyr protecting Fabro City. Who would ask what kind of deal Quint had with the evil priest? No one will care anymore. People will only know that a wizard went crazy and killed the speaker in the parliament. As for the wizard doing this for the sake of a district, no one will believe it. If you ask 100 people, 101 people will do it. Thinking that this is a wizard's lie, and that this lie is so lame and ridiculous. Claude didn't want to hear it anymore, he stood up from the sofa. Teacher, I will not help you hunt Rudolph. I just want to say one thing, I am happier than Rudolph that Quint is dead. Even if Quint is here, I will say the same. Teacher, I also want to tell you something. I don't hope that one day someone will look forward to your death as soon as they look forward to Quint's death. Abel's face was ashen as he watched Claude leave the office. He thought in his mind that this student is useless. Outside Abel's office, Claude saw Representative Jem, and Jem smiled at Claude. Claude was not in the mood to smile at Jem. This Jem was deeply involved with the heretics and was the liaison between the council and the evil god. In addition to Jem, Claude also saw his schoolgirl, Ivy, the third daughter of the Thor family. Unexpectedly, Ivy also regained teacher Abel's trust. Claude left the parliament and walked to the laboratory of the alchemy school. He still had enough money to use the laboratory for a week, so he couldn't waste time, not even for one night. Walking to a remote place with few lights, a group of bats appeared out of thin air on the road. The group of bats became denser and denser. A hand stretched out from the group of bats. This hand held a thick bundle of money. Claude took the money and found that it was 60,000 gold shields, 10,000 in a bundle, 6 neat bundles. Then the arm disappears and the bat swarm disappears. It has to be you, Rudolph, making money is so easy. It might be the double ninth festival, so I need to rest for 2 days. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 281. Claude didn't know how long he could use the alchemy school's laboratory. After disobeying teacher Abel this time, maybe he will be slowly excluded from his teacher's inner circle just like Ivy was. When entering the alchemy academy, Claude saw his master's wife, Abel's wife. Master's wife, why are you here? When Claude was a teenager, he came to the Alchemy Academy to study, and he often followed teacher Abel to his home on weekends. Because Claude was a familiar person, cheerful and talkative, his wife liked him very much and always cooked him, although not delicious, there were a lot of dishes. Mrs. Abel signaled the servants to stay away, and she whispered to Claude, I guessed that you might refuse their request. I came to tell you that I will try my best to help you drag it. The laboratory can at least use it by the end of the week. Claude, you must seize the opportunity and get promoted as soon as possible. Are you short of money? Mrs. Abel took out a thick wad of money, but Claude pushed the money back. Mrs. I have money. I am really not short of money. Thank you, mistress. If I am really short of money, of course I won't be short of money now. I will reject your offer. Claude, don't resent your teacher. He has no choice. His status as acting speaker makes him unable to do anything he wants. I know, master, I will be promoted as soon as possible and it won't take long. When Claude returned to the laboratory, he saw Kelida, who also had a black eye. Kelida is now a level 1 alchemist and Claude's experimental assistant. Purifying refined steel and refined copper is very boring. Kelida was sleepy and tired, but she persisted and helped Claude prepare the materials. In the process of purifying steel to obtain fine steel, the alchemist gradually uses the power of alchemy to transform the steel, adding alchemical power to the steel, giving the steel more special abilities. For example, Claude's research direction is the control of metals by electromagnetic force. Kelida, let's continue. The laboratory's blast furnace never went out, spewing smoke again. Most of the alchemist's experiments are crude, more like a huge factory. In addition to Kelida, there are many assistants and many workers in the laboratory, which is one of the reasons why the laboratory costs are high. Time passed minute by minute, and it came to 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. At this time, all the staff had rested, and Claude was also preparing to take a light sleep. He is not an Iron Man and needs at least 4 hours of sleep no matter how anxious he is. After checking the experimental data one last time, closing the door, Claude left the laboratory. There is a special accommodation area in the Alchemy Academy for laboratory users. When Claude returned to the dormitory, he saw someone lying on his sofa. This is a woman wearing a thin black gauze skirt. Her posture is so seductive, with her smooth and straight legs exposed, leaning sideways, and the huge and round body in front of her is overwhelmed, squeezing out a plump deep groove. The breeze blew in from the window, and the black gauze swayed slightly with the wind, and the figure under the black gauze was looming. Claude just sat on the sofa on the side and looked at Abigail without emotion. Except for the first moment, the atmosphere gradually became cold. Claude, can't we be as cold as we were more than 10 years ago? Claude only felt tired and had no thoughts at all. He said, if Quinn guards you tightly and doesn't let anyone see you, then I will feel extremely excited now. Hunting can arouse the wildness of men just like women, let alone hunting a woman. But unfortunately, it's not. Quinn doesn't mind if you come out to show off, or even if you use your charm ability wantonly. It's boring and not challenging. In fact, Claude once again pierced the battery with the needle into his lower abdomen to resist the level 4 charm power. Coupled with Claude's extraordinary talent and deliberate training of this ability, he will definitely bow to Abigail's black veil now. I want to know, how cold your heart can be, to say to me the words that hurt me so deeply. Abigail sat up from the sofa. The black gauze skirt only hung on her left shoulder, and the right side of her body was exposed. Under the black gauze on the left side, there is a faint hint of red, which is more attractive than the completely naked right side. Claude endured it very hard. The level 4 charm made his mouth dry and his whole body felt like it was on fire. He took out a handkerchief and pretended to wipe his nose. This is a special handkerchief. It is a handkerchief that Mrs. Jessica bought from other silver snakes and sprayed with sobering potion. It can help him resist the charm of the silver snake. Abigail walked gracefully, the slit of the black gauze skirt was so high, and the occasionally exposed hip bones proved that she was not wearing anything under the black gauze skirt. Waves of aroma hit him, causing Claude to narrow his eyes slightly. Claude used his little willpower to forcefully fight against the drowsiness of his brain. He must not sink, he must not retreat. If he loses here, then he will be Abigail's plaything and Quinn's plaything. Claude secretly told himself in his heart that he was no worse than Quinn. Quinn was just because he was Quinn's son. Quinn had prepared everything for Quinn's promotion. He can die, but he must not become Quinn's plaything. Her big, round buttocks sat on the armrest on Claude's side, and the squeezed-out tender flesh pressed against Claude's arm. It felt warm and smooth, letting Claude know that Abigail had just taken a shower. Maybe still using Claude's bathroom. Claude thought of Jessica, thought of Rudolph, and finally, he thought of Old Baby. Old Baby's wrinkled face made Claude sober up a little. Maybe no one can remember Old Baby, but he does. Old Baby has been his assistant for more than 10 years and was the person who supported him the most when he was in Lehman. However, Old Baby is dead. Everyone can forget Old Baby, but Claude can't forget. He told Rudolph that he would avenge Old Baby. Quint is dead, he deserves to die. Rudolph did a beautiful job. Rudolph avenged Old Baby, and the wolf tide was just part of Quint's plan. Killing Quint is not the end of the matter. If he fails here, Rudolph may also die. Facing the behemoth of the Alchemy Council and the terrifying violent machine of the Judgment Bureau, Rudolph can hold on for a while, but not for too long. Abigail's slender fingers gently stroked Claude's side face. Claude hasn't shaved for a long time, and the friction between his fingers and beard sent out an intoxicating vibration. Her fingers slid across Claude's neck again, caressing his chest muscles and making circles on his chest. Claude felt an itch on his chest, and wanted to grab the arm that tempted him to commit a crime, caress it, and kiss it. Claude held back a breath of hot air, but his eyes struggled and became more distracted. At this moment, Abigail's hand restlessly touched Claude's lower abdomen. Claude woke up instantly, and he must not let her know the existence of the alchemical battery.